Okay, so let's start.
3, 2, 1.
All right, no, so this is not part of the board meeting.
I was just trying to be ahead of schedule, because when Julie says we're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, I was gonna-
No, I was anticipating it too. My heart.
All right, Kim, all right. Truth and taxation meeting, here we go. So we have to do the public hearing every year, like we always do, about the proposed property taxes for 2024. Information on changes to that. So the agenda is changes in general fund allowances, review, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna stand. I'm not gonna keep my.
That's what you're gonna say.
I know that. So review of the budget and the levies, and then questions if you have any. So just some general information. This is the general fund changes over the years. You can see the legislature in May gave us 4% for this school year and then 2% for the next school year, and that's general fund stuff. So you can see how it's going up. Now, if you compare that to how inflation is, they're still way behind, but we got something.
Can I just, has
Yep.
that ever caught us up to the cuts that was made? I think it was the Plenty era, where they did slash schools, and I don't think we've ever gotten back up to that point to where we were.
No. This is the budget that we approved back in June, and remember, this is a really rough, ugly budget because we didn't have all the information from the legislature yet, and we knew we had all the negotiations to do, so once we finish that, I'll be able to put together a much better budget, revised budget, so that gives us a start. Fund balance from the audit, our restricted fund balance is 547,000. etc. Unrestricted is 2.4 million, so a total of 2.9 million. And Ashley will talk more about that with the audit. So you can see here a picture of it. So it did go down this year for many reasons. So we can talk more about that if you have questions. So just a refresher, the general fund. That's the accounts for general education activities, all the stuff it takes to run the school, basically. Food service that's everything breakfast and lunch. Any questions on those? We're all reading.
Does our CFP reimbursements help cover most of that?
For food service?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's school food service, school food nutrition, not CA, what you
CFP.
said, yeah.
Okay, but it's the same premise, right?
Yep. Yep.
Does it cover like most of our expenses then?
Yes. Community service, that's our community ed, early childhood, family education, preschool, school readiness, all of that stuff. Summer rec. Debt service is all of our debt service stuff from the bonds and things like that. So here are the levy amounts, and this is not the stuff that comes from the state. This is what's the taxpayers fund. So you can see the changes from 23 to 24. If you want to look at that, some went up, some went down. It kind of fluctuates. So LTFM, you can see, went down significantly because the age of our buildings changed. That was what we were counting on to have happen with the bonding for the athletic complex.
What is OPEB?
OPEB, that is other post-employment benefits. And that has to do with having retirees on our health insurance. So the more retirees you have, you can levy to help offset the increases that they cause because they tend to use health insurance more.
Could you also explain the bottom three, the adjustments, what's all included with that?
Adjustments are crazy because a lot of these levies are based on numbers from 2 or 3 years ago. Like these are estimates based on enrollment estimates. So as enrollment is finalized from 2 years ago, they say, oh, well, we only paid you for 700 pupil units. you actually had 712 pupil units, so then they adjust this year's amount, so it fluctuates up and down because of pupil units a lot of times, mostly pupil units. There are several of them based on pupil units that fluctuate, and it takes about 2 years to get everything caught up. So these are adjustments from 2 years ago. Some are from last year, depending on which pupil count they use and things like that.
So they overestimated by a few students last year? That's why the school pays back there, or?
No, for for those adjustments, yes, but this year you can see we're up.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
And it's it's very interesting. Schools usually work in like 3-year intervals. You know, like Kim could have put a 2022 in there, or could have gone even further and put a 2025 in there. It takes so long, it takes at least a calendar year before everything is finalized from the year before.
Well, and like right now, this fall, I've been working in 3 years, doing the levy, because this levy is for actual school year 24, 25. And, we're currently in fiscal year 24, and then working on audit stuff after July 1st is fiscal year 23. So we got 3 years going on right now. So we're almost done on some of them. Tonight we finished 2 of them. I could be just in the present. So yeah, adjustments are kind of crazy sometimes. So this is an adjustment to the good. Okay.
So what about the bottom two? Can you explain those?
Oh, sorry. Operating levy referendum, that is pupil adjustments also. That's the operating referendum that we do with a per pupil. We're at like, what is it, 13, can't remember the exact amount, but we did the votes to get it to pass. That's what that is, but our pupil units are expected to be up, so it increased it.
How many years is that operating levy good for?
It's 10 years. We have a few
We have
years
2 of them,
left.
don't we, or do we just have one?
Yes, but we did one like a year or 2 after the other ones. I'd have to look it up. Elders keeps track of that and gives us a heads up when we need to start looking at it again. But I can look it up and let you know if you want me to.
But they don't expire at the same time, I don't think, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they're separate.
I think we have quite a few years left.
I think so.
don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, over 5.
Cause it was the big one we just redid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, the small one, I think the state just rolled into board approved, the $300 per person. We don't have to vote on that anymore. Board can just keep it rolling. The bigger one though, I think the board can renew it once, but then we'd have to go back to a vote after that.
Unless they change something.
Unless they change something
I think
again
that's
before
right.
then.
As long as it's identical, I think you can do it once.
Yeah,
Just for 1 year, then?
no, it would be.
One renewal
one
cycle.
renewal
Yeah.
cycle. So 10 years.
And that hasn't been done? You guys
No.
didn't
No,
exercise?
it was voted on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just changed last year, the year before, that could happen. But there's special rules about it, and Ellers will help us make sure we do that.
And the lease levy, what was the lease levy on
This is the lease
Oh,
levy.
this way.
This is all the lease,
it? Okay.
well, wait, my bad. Yep. The lease levy, that's some of the athletic complex increase. Which is, the plan is that it offset by LTFM, but then with our pupil count going up, it didn't completely offset it as much as we thought it would. So some of the levies, it increased overall.
But overall, Elders did share with us that there would not be an increase to people's taxes, correct?
Yes, but there is because the pupil units went up. So that would have happened regardless.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the complex.
Not.
It's
And that's how they presented it too, like if nothing changed,
Mhm.
nothing, or your tax would
Right.
go up, but.
Right,
It's too bad they didn't tell us, but if.
And property value. went
but
up,
then
too.
it would have,
Yeah.
It would have went up anyway.
it would have gone up anyway, even without the athletic complex, because our pupil units are up
And property values.
and property values went up. That's the county's fault. So then the community service part of it, there's a slight increase here as well. You can see the community ed part went up, ECFE went down just a tad. I forgot to look at why, so. I think that's based on 4-year-olds in the district or 3-year-olds. So our census must show it going down. Debt service. Some of the bond stuff that was offset with the drop in LTFM, which was not as much because of, like we said, pupil units. So there's the comparison with the totals. So because of all the different things, it shows a 13% increase. Questions? I talked about everything I was going to share on questions, so.
I don't have anything, anybody? Okay, all right.
You go ahead.
You're done. All right, what is it, 6:12, we'll call the meeting to order, we're ready for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3.0, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And let's start, second. Any questions or discussion? All right, if not, those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. 4.0, public comment, none. Yes, okay. 5.0, consent agenda. We need a motion on that.
I can make that motion.
Romero,
I'll second that.
and Deb, okay. Any other discussion? No, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Excuse me. 6.0 is the communication reports, and the first one up is Ashley Maher from Schrenner, Winter and Company. She's gonna do our audit report.
Okay, I have this, so let me get it back up there.
All right.
So there are 3 documents in front of you. I'm gonna be going through this one. It's smaller, shorter, version. You'll see the other 2 reports in front of you. There's a report to members of governance and then the financial statements. So this is essentially a summarized version of those 2 documents. You'll see that the financial statements are quite hefty, about almost 90 pages. So we try to hit the most important things, or things we're required to tell you all. And then obviously the audit results and financial results for the year. So I will just start rolling through this. So this first page here just shows what we do with an audit. So we get the district's records. We do a number of inquiries, testing, and procedures. And really through all that, we're looking to issue an opinion. So for the district for fiscal year 23, we're issuing an unmodified or clean opinion. That's essentially the opinion you want to be issued. It means no significant issues, errors, or misstatements arose during our procedures. Here we just noted a few things we're required to tell you all. Overall, the audit went smoothly. We were able to get all the documentation we needed for the audit. Positive working relationship with management. Kim and the team here always get us everything we need, so we had no concerns there. Nothing unusual noted in our transaction review, and no unusual accounting policies or treatments. Significant estimates noted there are same as in the past, net pension liability, net OPEB liability, and then the amounts due from NDE. Some of that kind of rolls in with what Kim was talking about. I know she mentioned OPEB a little bit. That's your, it rolls into with your health insurance and your retirees that you're paying for health insurance, or that are on the district's health insurance. And then the amounts due from NDE, obviously constantly fluctuating, like Kim had talked about, due to people units. So we have to note that as an estimate, because those numbers that are coming in from the state are constantly fluctuating. We actually don't have final fiscal year 23 state numbers until like April or May. So we actually really are constantly changing. Obviously, we're not going to hold out for that long. It's due to the state by 12/31. So we make a cut at that point, and then we do state in our report that that those numbers are fluctuating from the state. All those things noted there are really reported on by most school districts in the state, so not out of the ordinary by any means for McRae. If you go to any other school's audit presentation, they're probably going to be telling you the same exact things. So. All right. Internal controls. This is going to look about the same as in the past. We do some audit adjustments on behalf of the district, mostly accrual adjustments for state receivables and property taxes receivables. We do note lack of segregation of duties. You do just have a few people doing your accounting for the district. Obviously, much better than I see in some other districts who maybe have one person doing the accounting or two. There are a few here, but we do have to note that, of course, not every single transaction cycle is maybe as segregated like you'd like it to be. And that's not different than in the past, and actually something that we report for most of the school districts that we work with. So you're by no means out of the ordinary. Financial statement preparation, we're just required to tell you all that we prepare the financial statements on behalf of the district. So that bigger report, that 90-page report, we prepare that, and then Kim reviews it. We went through it with Kim and Josh as well about a week ago. So, and that's no different than any other district we work with either. Most of our district, actually all of our districts that we work with, we prepare their financial statements. Any questions at all so far? So keep rolling. Minnesota legal compliance. So each year as part of our audit, we're required to look at various areas of compliance with Minnesota statutes. So essentially laws that the district must follow. We look at all the areas that are noted there. And through our procedures, we had no findings. So everything checked out as far as your contracts with your building project, all your claims and disbursements, conflicts of interest, anything like that. We had no findings, no concerns that we noted during our procedures. Single audit. So the district had federal dollars come through in excess of $750,000. So when that occurs, we must do an additional compliance audit over those federal dollars. So this year we took a look at the child nutrition cluster, and that is your food service program. So through those procedures, we issued an unmodified or clean opinion. So just like over the financial statements, that's the opinion that you want to be issued. It means we didn't run into any errors or misstatements within the federal expenditures. And then compliance findings, none, and then also internal control findings, none. So really all good news there. No concerns as far as anything that we looked at in regards to that program. Pupil unit. So each year we throw the slide in there, mainly because kind of what Kim had talked about, a lot of your state aid is based on how many students you have enrolled in the district. So fiscal year 23, you will see that had a decent increase from fiscal year 22 and was at about 739. So about an increase of 28. Taking a look at the numbers for the district, we'll start off with the general fund. Decrease in fund balance of just under 1.1 million, about a $100,000 increase in revenues and a $36,000 increase in expenditures. Other sources and uses there are transfers out to community service and building construction. Approximately a 2.9 million ending fund balance, excuse me. And we'll kind of take a little bit deeper look at some of these numbers over the next few pages. Revenues, as mentioned on the previous page, from fiscal year 22, those increased about 100,000. You'll see some increases here. Property tax levies increased about 242,000. Some fluctuations in your fund allocation. Property taxes overall for the district increased about 194,000. Federal sources there had a decent decrease. That's just primarily due to some of that COVID-related funding that was coming through, mostly ESSER, that decreased from fiscal year 22 to 23. Some of those programs are just winding down, so you're seeing somewhat the end of those dollars. You'll see a little bit more in fiscal year 24. And then you'll see your other categories, not a ton of fluctuation. State sources increased just a bit. A lot of that just due to overall increases in pupil units. So on the flip side, we'll look at expenditures. So those, as mentioned, increased about 36,000. You'll see few fluctuations here. Exceptional instruction increased about 166,000. That can fluctuate year from year. That is your special education. So depending on how many students you have enrolled that are special education focused, that can just fluctuate a bit there. Capital outlay decreased about 355,000. Some furniture and other items for the new building that were funded via the general fund in fiscal year 22. That's the primary reason for the decrease there. You'll see not a ton of fluctuation in other categories. A little bit here and there, but nothing too significant. And then cash for the general fund overall decreased and sat at just under 3 million. It was 2.978 million at 6/30/23. This slide is new this year. Kim and I had talked about maybe showing some more detail as far as some of the different fund balance categories that we have here. So you'll see unassigned had a fairly significant decrease, but in other areas for restrictions, you'll see some increases here and there. So there's some restrictions that the district will be able to spend in fiscal year 24, things like operating capital, staff development. You'll see LTFM decrease quite a bit. That is almost entirely, actually basically entirely, a transfer to your building construction fund. So that building construction fund transfer that I mentioned a few pages ago, that came out of LTFM. Just kind of the intent there is that those LTFM dollars are used for building improvements basically. So that's as expected. Other than that, we'll maybe talk about unassigned just a little bit more on this next page here. So each year we take a look at unassigned fund balance as a percent of your budget, basically your budgeted expenditures. For fiscal year 23, that sat at just under 22%. So a decrease of about 8% from fiscal year 22 to 23. This was maybe, I think, as expected. There was some discussion about us potentially spending some of the district's fund balance down. Your goal is typically for that to sit above 20%. When you look back to 21, you're sitting at like 40%, which is a pretty hefty unassigned fund balance, honestly. So I think spending down some of that would made a lot of sense. It was, perfectly fine. I wouldn't spend down too much more. I wouldn't want that to sit maybe less than like 15%. You gotta, mainly because you have to think about just having a cushion. You gotta have a little bit of spendable fund balance sitting there. And I know I probably have mentioned this before, in case, let's just say the state shuts down and you can't get your funding, or something happens that you suddenly need to spend some of those dollars. So I'd say not spending too much below that 20%. Ideally, not letting that hit below the 15%. And Kim and Josh and I talked a little bit about that when we met last week. Just kind of keeping an eye on that for this fiscal year 24, where that's sitting, and not spending down too much more. Any questions at all on any of the general fund numbers? keep rolling. We'll talk a little bit about, the district's other funds. So debt service, overall increase in fund balance about 130,000, ending about 485,000. Similar activity to fiscal year 23. Your levies coming in and your debt service payments being made on your debt. Building construction overall decreased about 5 million, ending of 2.16 million. Of course, spending of your bond dollars and then wrapping up with the project. The other sources there, a portion of that is a transfer from the general fund that we had talked about, and about 725,000 is that additional bond dollars coming through from that the district was able to tap into that 725,000. Couple more funds here. Food service overall increase about 44,000. Ending of just under 204,000. Biggest change, decrease in federal dollars due to the federal free meals for all going away in fiscal year 23. Other than that, not a ton of fluctuation. You'll see your revenues are still exceeding your expenditures for your food service, so still kind of hitting where you're supposed to be. Community service overall increased about 154,000 and ending of negative 229,000. Similar activity to fiscal year 22. Besides that other financing source, that is that transfer from the general fund. And I know we've kind of talked about that fund a little bit more in detail in the past. Potentially doing a transfer either each year or maybe every 2 years from the general fund. Because the community service fund, typically those expenditures are exceeding your revenues in that fund. And maybe not letting that sit, because I know in the past we had kind of let that sit for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then you're looking at maybe a half-year transfer than if you were to do it every year or two. So cash for those few funds that we just talked about, overall as a whole, sat at just under 1.3 million for those funds. Not pictured here is the building construction fund, which sat at just over 2 million at 6/30/2030. Not a ton of fluctuation in food service and community service. Debt service increased. I think in fiscal year 22, there was some debt that was paid early at the end of the fiscal year 22. So that was that dip. So had that not been paid early, you might see more of a constant fluctuation across the board from fiscal year 21 to 23. Keep rolling. I just have a few pages left here. So now we'll take just a quick look at the district as a whole. So this is all the assets for the district, current and non-current. So current, you'll see overall decrease, primarily due to some decreases in cash, some decreases in receivables. Your capital increase, we capitalized the building construction, the building project this year. So that is currently officially an asset of the district. You'll see the big fluctuation really from fiscal year 21 to 22. We had it booked just as construction in progress at that time, but officially completed as of the end of fiscal year 23. And then on the flip side, liabilities, not a ton of fluctuation. You'll see current liabilities decreased a lot. A lot of that's just your construction payables. So you'll think back to at the end of fiscal year 22, you're right in the midst of a building construction project. Fiscal year 23, obviously very much winding down. There wasn't a lot of payables at year end for that project at June 30th. Other than that, debt overall decreased, just paying off the debt. Your OPEB decreased a bit, and then the net pension liability did increase, but you'll see there's been some fluctuations over the past few years in that. And then debt for the district as a whole, overall decrease of about 1 million. just debt payments being made, and then also that new issuance of 725,000 that I had talked about a couple slides ago. You'll see all of the debt of the district is noted there. The few bonds, the 2020, 2021, and 2022. And there is just one financing arrangement, I believe. And then your severance, which is very, very minimal. And this very last slide has my contact information, but if you have any questions right now, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, you can always email me or call me if there's questions after.
No questions for Ashley? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Okay, next up is Brenda Smith, Community Lead.
Yeah, good evening and happy holidays. Before I get too much into the winter, so forth, just to mention a couple highlights from this last fall. Pumpkin Patch Party was our biggest ever. We had 161 people at that, so that was a lot of fun. Our ECFB programming has been full. In fact, our MCUBs had 16 families, and we normally have about 12 families in the past, and that's where we have separate parent education piece to that one. So that one was very successful. Youth classes were well attended. Fall football went well. We had 96 boys in fall football, grades 1 through 6, and our adult classes went really well. The winter booklet is in your packet. It's filled again with a lot of classes and activities. John's doing woodworking again, so he's done that for quite a few years, so that's always been popular with him. We're gonna do the McCray Community Health Challenge again this year. Last year was the first time we had done it, and it was pretty successful. So we're gonna have a kickoff on January 4th, it's for 12 weeks. We partner with a lot of businesses on that to provide some incentives to people that participate in that. Also, in the booklet, we've got certain classes that we put little red hearts next to, and those classes are discounted for those that are part of the Community Health Challenge. Youth basketball is going really well. We have 95 players in it this year with 8 teams. We offer it for girls and boys, 3rd grade through 6th grade. In my information, I included all the volunteer coaches for the basketball program. We have 2 volunteer parents for every team, which is nice. It takes probably almost 3 coaches really to keep all the kids going in the same direction, so that's good. As always, I make sure the volunteer coaches have background searches done and concussion training. The McCray Hoops Club, I work with them on hosting basketball here at school. One of the things with the new facilities, it gives us that chance to host basketball tournaments. We're part of the Midwest Youth Basketball League for 5th and 6th grade girls and boys. We're having that Saturday, we're hosting it. There's about 7 or 8 other schools that participate in that. We're doing a boys tournament on January 20th, a girls tournament on February 10th. And then we do Saturday hoops for 1st and 2nd grade. So a lot of basketball being played right now. Youth wrestling starts this Wednesday. We're probably going to have about 30 kids in that. Coach for that is Andy Brisley. He's done that for quite a few years. So that's good. And we really try to partner with Quad County, being that's part of our upper grades for that. So I work with them on that. The Performing Arts Auditorium, I'm looking at coming up with a way that we can do online reservations, just to kind of clean that up a little bit, because it gets really hard to do some in person and some online. And what we would do is make sure that we offer those that don't want to do it online to still do it. They would just maybe come in, but we'll make sure that people feel comfortable with that system, with whatever we choose to do on that. Youth Scholarship Fund is pretty healthy right now, a little over $4,000 in that. Our ABE program is going well. We offer that on Tuesday nights from 5 to 8. ABE is Adult Basic Education. We have 15 students in that. We would really like to offer it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we don't really have enough teachers for it, so we're always looking for more teachers willing to do that, because in general, it's good to offer it twice a week, but right now we're just doing it once a week. Most of the students in that are learning English, but we do have 1 GED student in that, so that's encouraging. I did the November 1st MDE annual report for community ed. For facility use, Briggs Motley rented out our facilities for their craft sale, which was their 50th year, so that was exciting for them. That was on November 4th. November 24th, we hosted the Lions Club Pancake fundraiser. I think there was over 1,000 people at that, so that was well attended. And birthday parties is kind of a new thing that people have requested. We had one on October 14th. We were gonna have one this past Saturday, but it was canceled, so. Any questions?
Can you explain more a little bit about that online reservation system? Is that for tickets to get in?
For tickets, so I checked with other schools and many of them that have auditoriums do an online reservation, system. So depending on the system that you go with, it'll have, like, I want row 3, you know, or like row 12, or however you do it, and then the third seat or whatever. Similar to like Chanhassen or any other online service, you can actually pick the seats that you want. You could use it for graduation. We wouldn't charge obviously for graduation, but you know, like reserved seating for that or early tickets for that, musical, even concerts. It depends on how we want to use it, but we're just starting to look into it. I have to look at the cost of it too to see how much it would even. Sometimes what they'll do is, like, if you do an online, they'll kind of do a service fee on that. So if your ticket is $20, it would be $22. So I think that's where the company makes up some money. So I think some of that will just have to be part of the discussion on what we go with if we even do that. So
I would just like to suggest that if we do that, we also have the option, because not everybody has a computer or whatnot. Always frustrated when I go to state meets and I have to reserve ahead of time, like track meets or whatnot, and I can't get in if my phone doesn't load right, or it's so frustrating. So that we can still keep the cash out option for like elderly or folks who maybe don't have that broadband capacity.
yeah, exactly, because certain people don't feel comfortable or because the technology isn't able to. So when I talk to other schools with that, is they just ask the person to come in and then I sit with them and I kind of put in all the information and they can pay in cash. So there's those options too. So I think whichever one we go with, we're gonna make sure we have that option for people that don't feel comfortable or don't have the technology available for them. So when we did Nancy Harms a couple years ago, half the people wanted to do it online and one half didn't. So that just shows that there's a population out there that prefer doing it.
Okay, any other questions for Denise? No, if not, all right, thank you, Denise. Okay, Mitchell.
Talk back to follow. So I'm gonna skip around in mine. I apologize, I didn't have it originally. I was out for a little while last week. But speaking of the auditorium, it is crazy that Thursday we will already be having our elementary holiday concert, the winter concert. So we will have matinees, and that'll be at 1 for preschool, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and then at 2 o'clock for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then evening performances at 6 for preschool through 2nd grade, and then 7 for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So we are excited to get to do that. This will officially be our first year with that evening concert, just because of the snow that kind of included the date we had set for last year. So it's nice to allow the kids to get to show off what they've been working on for the last few months and getting ready for that. So I'm glad the weather forecast looks much more clear for this. I will have to talk with Mr. Asta on this too, but just thinking about, I know it's coming up here, but just parking and things like that. Because I know before we tried to clear out a portion of the parking lot, and we parked down on the roads, and people saw that we were parking down there, and they didn't even come up to the parking lot. So just to make sure that we'll make people aware that there are spaces up here closer to the building for when they do come in for both, well, I guess specifically the afternoon concert, but evening as well. So just make sure you take a spin through the parking lot and see what is available there. I did want to touch back on from our in-service in November. That was actually the date of our other board meeting. How we had Kari Feldhaus come in Since then, about 2 weeks ago, we had another online meeting with her for any staff that wanted more clarification or wanted more time with her. So Kari and I were both on, and I'd asked her, I said, you said this was for everyone, but I asked if she had like scheduled times, because it was like as soon as 2 people like, all right, thank you for clarifying, they logged out, like another person jumped on, like it was just kind of it worked out really nice because she was able to give them kind of more one-on-one time, and I mean, it was completely irrelevant to what they were asking, so we got all of that lined up. I believe we're set. I know we have a letter ready to send out here. I'm guessing we'll do that this week. Just to make sure for elementary, middle, high school, we have times where classroom teachers will be available, scheduled throughout the day. If students want to come online, and at the elementary level, that will be optional, but it will be there if they want it. And then we've also scheduled times for both music, ed, and STEAM. And we space that in ways where they'll have time as well. And if first grade is kind of overlapped here, we made sure the second time isn't overlapped. So they'll all have an opportunity to meet with their specials teachers as well during the day, again, optionally, if they would like to. So I feel like at the elementary level, we did a pretty good job of hitting both sides of the spectrum, the people that only want to or can only handle doing just a little bit, but still making it, worth their time, and the people who want to go above and beyond and they want even more. So people kind of get to pick what they want and what works for them and their schedule for that day. So they can do a little bit, or they can do a lot. So I'm excited for that. I feel like we're ready to go again. I think we did a decent job before, but now it's kind of e-learning 2.0. So we're ready to roll with that, even though we're not going to need any of those days this year. And other than that, we'll be using the auditorium again on Friday. We're just going to be burning the thing out on Friday this week. So after the concert on Thursday, elementary's coming back in there for our an assembly, just to get everybody together, preschool through 5th grade. So we'll kind of wrap up everything that happened in Q1 and continue celebrating Q2 here with that. That is all that I have for tonight. Any questions about any of those items?
Just wondering, could we maybe consider, I know when I've come to matinees before with my mom, parking for the elderly is horrendous, and there's not enough handicap spots. Could we potentially get some golf carts and have a shuttle to pick people up? Because we parked way down by the skate park, and that was a long way to walk.
We should have brought your skateboard then. You were way off.
I don't want to break a leg. Just think if there might be a possibility, especially for the matinee with the elderly.
Yeah, we've discussed that, and if we didn't have like golf carts available, just even a school vehicle or two that could,
Pick
help
people
that,
up.
or even to set aside more spots for handicap parking.
Would be
So,
great.
Great ideas.
Okay, any other questions? All right, if not, we're gonna move on to Judd, Lee High School.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Westbrook pulls up I almost said truth and taxation. I do not want to talk about that. My workforce presentation. I just want to piggyback off of what Mr. Kent had said about the e-learning. Again, the letter's ready to rock and roll, but we do have a schedule that's going to be on the backside of the letter when it goes out. So we're going to run it like a air quotes normal day, and so students will be required to report, and there will be attendance taken, those kinds of things. Every class will have a lesson, so on and so forth. So just wanted to throw that out there since Mr. Kent had brought it up. Again, my yearly, not like I've done it forever, but I used to present it with Mrs. Sparks. So I'm required to present this as part of the actual World's Best Workforce, and then I actually have to list today's date within the document, so I could upload the document, or I cannot upload the document until after this meeting takes place. So I will do that this week. It's due on Friday, but everything's ready to rock and roll. So with presentation, the first goal we have is that all students ready for school. So this is our kindergarten preparedness. Preschool in all of my 7 years here has absolutely rocked and rolled unbelievably well. shoot for 96% on average across the board, and we definitely hit that. So you can see we've got 97 for both social emotional learning and mathematics, and then coming just under 94% with language. So excellent. This is literally one of those things where you're talking one student not meeting a goal but impacting a percentage. So this is absolutely fantastic data here. Our MCA reading scores, again, this goes hand in hand with Read Well by third grade, and you can see that we had a goal for 2023 of 72%. If you remember last year, I believe we were at 38. Well, I have 5%, so 37%, and so we did see a 5% increase. That's a positive in my book, because when we set the goals up, we shoot for a 5% increase every year. That's what's recommended for us to throw in there. So we met our yearly goal, but we're still recovering from years past when it comes to the scores. And you'll see there's a little bit more reading data that'll come up with our share that with you. That is nice. This is our college and career ready. And so in the past we had done, we tied it to our ACT scores. And this is really kind of going the way of the dodo, because schools aren't requiring the ACT. I'll rephrase that, not all schools are requiring the ACT. And so now that it's optional, I think we need to come up with a new goal. I'm actually leaning towards the idea of using the ASVAB test, which is technically a military, call it like an entrance examination. The really cool thing about it is what it does is it actually correlates to an ACT score. So for students, when our 11th graders take it, they actually learn what their ACT score would be based off of their ASVAB score. So it's a nice way to tie it together. We also had 27% of our 11th grade students opt out this last year that we took it. So I do not have the data for this year. That would be what would be presented next year. The college and career readiness continued. We have a goal of 85% of our students. If you recall from the money reports that I've done so far in my time here at the high school level, pushing the career aspect of things and trying to provide more opportunities. And I've given Mrs. Risley the green light to, I don't think I said no to any opportunity that she's brought forth. So very happy to report that for 23 we have that at 89%, so we exceeded our goal. And then all students graduate, point of pride, of course, another year in the books with 100% of the McRae graduating class in 4 years. And then now we're getting into achievement and integration. We have money that's tied to this. It pays for one of our, we have a reading interventionist. Some of the money goes towards that salary. And so you can see I have the 22 result for number 1. This is all tied to our free reduced data. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But reading, we wanted it to be at 43%. This is the last year towards that goal. And you can see we came in and highlighted at 37%. So we had a 6% increase from last year. I attribute that in no small part due to the amount of reading work that has been done for the elementary. Really, I believe it was about the 2021 school year was when things really kicked into effect more so with all the conversations about phonics and those kinds of things. And
reading MTSS.
And yep. And so Mr. Kent could speak to that much more than I could at this point. But again, to see a 6% increase, that means that we're 6% behind. And I believe that we'll continue to see it go up with the continued support in reading, along with recovery from the COVID timeframe. We're still catching up for that. And then goal number 2 would be similar, but only for math. And you can see we had a 12% increase, and that's fantastic. And so we blew that one out of the water, but came in just shy of the goal of 52%. So very happy to report that information also. Now the one piece, the caveat that I want to throw at you is the reality that with our meals being free now for our students, we have a number of families who have not applied for the educational aid, which is the free reduced component. And so what I think we're probably going to end up doing is we'll set aside just our ML and our special education students, have them as one combined group. So we'll be able to subset it a little bit more than looking at the broader perspective. The tough part about that is, that knocks Title I out to a degree, a bit. But when we're looking at those subsets, we want to make sure we're addressing the needs of the students who need it the most. And it would definitely be those 2 subsets. Oh, this is one that I don't think too much about this because Wilmer runs it. We have our STEM camps that we run, and as a collaborative, this is a collaborative goal. And so we actually had, it's about forming relationships with individuals who are different than yourself. And the collaborative actually came in at 58%. And they were shooting for, I can't remember. So about 40%. Nope, that's a lie. That's the Likert scale I was looking at. Anyway, Wilmer reported that the goal was met at 58%, so I'll just give one more. We typically send, because of our, I like to say because of our robust summer programming that we have, we actually pull kids into our summer programming more so than we send to Wilmer. It's those math camps and the STEM kids that attend those. And I believe 2 years ago or last year, I reported that we sent about 11 or 12 kids to that from the district. So again, great for our kids to be exposed to students that are different than themselves. So very happy for the collaborative on that. And that is the end of World's Best Workforce. Like I said, I'll get it typed up into the MDE form and hit submit for tomorrow.
Thank you.
John, do we need to have a board approval of the report, or you just need to report?
We just need to have a
I
meeting.
couldn't remember because it's changed the.
Yeah, I just have to list that the meeting took place on the date using today.
Okay, are you finished or?
Otherwise, it's a pretty tight time in my world, and so especially I'm trying to figure out. I'll sit here. What can I talk about in January, because it's going to get really late as we go into the break. So I'll have something good for you.
All right. Thank you.
Or nothing.
We can go, nothing's going on, all right. All right, up next, Judd, you're up next.
All right, thank you Denise and Mitchell and Kim and Judd for your presentations tonight. This is my part to kind of share what's going on globally within our district. Kim and Noel and I met with Hilliards within the last couple of weeks to talk about how they can support us in our organization of our cleaning and taking care of our building. Hilliards is a custodial cleaning products and service company. I believe they're based out of Hutchinson. Is that accurate? So we've had a couple of meetings with them, and it's pretty cool. They take the entire landscape of our building and then look at like square footage, and then look at how many total cleaners and custodians we have, and how many hours they can, how many hours of their day can they simply designate to cleaning, how much of it is maintenance, how much of it is grounds, and they put it into a big equation and it kind of spits out exactly what one of us could maybe do in a classroom. Actually, it'd probably take at least me a lot slower than our custodians to empty trash or to do whatever. And then you're able to kind of take out how many days a week you want that to be done. So if it only needs to be done 4 days a week, they can put that into the equation. So you have a better idea of who can take care of this hallway, or who needs to be down in the cafeteria at this given time. It really has opened my eyes. I know Kim has seen some stuff with Noel and Scott last year too. But it's been very helpful knowing that we have one less custodian right now on duty. They can put that into their equation, saying, okay, if you have one less person down, these are the things, these are the musts. And it starts with like bathrooms and those high touch areas. But it's very educational just to see, a map of our school, with our custodians placed in, and who could take this hallway that would take it away from somebody else, which would save some time. So that has been eye-opening to me, so that we can be more efficient with our cleaning and our maintenance. As I just mentioned, we are down a head custodian. We do have a small handful of people that have applied for that, and Kim and I will work on getting those interviews set up. They have applications in. We did also update what our job description said for what our head grounds or custodian, what it said before. A little bit of history in the background. There was a head custodian at both of the elementary schools. There was one here at the secondary building, and so there's some growing pains with being all in the same. Good growing pains, but something we wanted to clean up before we actually brought somebody on board. I did attend the Clark City Council meeting to just share some updates with our athletic facility projects. Very positive results. They did not have many questions really to ask. They got to see kind of an artist rendition of what that looked like. They're excited about the potential of how the three communities can also use that for other events besides just school related things, which was exciting. We're in a contract negotiation year with all of our employees. things have gone well, and that is a reflection of the great people that we work with, really across the board. You know, some of the people are at the table here, some of them are back by the whiteboard, but good people to work with. Contract negotiations are not always easy because there are two sides, you know, to the conversation. Those that I've not met already, I will be meeting with this week, that meeting this week of December the 11th. I really applaud Kim and Julie and Carmel for just for providing the financial support, the spreadsheets, the worksheets, the insight also too, as we do negotiations with all the different groups. For the board, I want you to know that I do have a living document too with other schools in the surrounding area and in the region from other superintendents and business directors that have shared their percentages of increases or things they've had as contract language. So that's been very, very good too. And people continue to add to that as they finalize things within their district. The board, you allowed me to join the Great Start cohort, and that has just been wonderful just to connect with other superintendents. The last probably 2.5 days that I've attended the cohort, everything has had to do with finances. And so this was the last 3 topics that we visited with. It's just talking about school finances across the audiences that you deal with, not only the people you see every day in school, the people in the community, the business owners, and you, the board. Special education finances, that's a completely different animal, you know, and how that is all maintained, and you know what percentage the federal government helps you with, and what are they guaranteed to, and what do they, and it's a lot. It is a lot. And then the final topic we talked about was legislative platform updates, and just who does the lobbying on behalf of our district, and who are some of those connections, you know, that I need to reach out to that really, you know, are there to lobby for McRae and our region. We're preparing for winter. The holiday concerts and the holiday, you know, performances are coming in. But beyond that, just snow removal readiness. We have had to replace some of our machines, you know, not just shovels, but also things that take gas, and try to make sure that, you know, the snow removal things we have will keep our custodians warm so they don't have, you know, a frozen toe or something like that by the end of snow removal. We are working also too with neighboring school districts on just, you know, the forecasting of what does this look like, who are the contacts that we're going to make to make sure we're making just good decisions, not just, you know, on a whim, for lack of a better word. I have attended a NOAA weather class this fall, and then I'll be attending another one, a virtual class this Friday, just on how do you look at the state of Minnesota and kind of follow where's the weather pattern coming from, and what might the impact be. You know, if you see it in Sioux Falls at 1, where might it be at, you know, McRae at whatever. And so just all of these what ifs, that's also very intriguing to me. The Little Crow Telemedia Network, the TMN, or no, how is that said? LCT, yes. Think Internet. They are dissolving, and so Southwest West Central is picking up the system and also the processes. And I've been working with Jesse on, you know, what that looks like to make sure that the product that we're getting now is going to be the product that we get in the future, and we don't have any gaps in there with security, safety, firewalls, you know, and things like that. So that's something that's coming down the line. Our athletic fields project is digging deeper into the specifics. The last time we met, we were talking about wiring and lighting and electricity, and, you know, conduit to here and conduit to there, and where are outlets going to be, you know, for the benefit of our kids and our coaches and our advisors. Also too, they go in so deep on just the maps too, on where is the slope going to be, and what's the drop going to be from this parking lot down to this area of grass. And if somebody is in a wheelchair, a walker, or if they're 12 years old, or if they're 112 years old, are they going to be able to make that slope? And so they go very, very deep with all the different, you know, processes of that. You know, even going into what's the foundational materials look like. You know, what's underneath the field, what's underneath the asphalt, which is it is good to know. And then just maintenance of it too. I continue to partner with Mr. Kent and also Ms. Smith about school care. That has not dropped off our radar. We're not ready to start in January the 1st, as we did discuss this fall, and we've created a new timeline. Currently, our biggest concern is safe and secure places for our kids to go. You think about, you know, big picture, the elementary commons is a wonderful big space to use for an after-school program. But we also have basketball games going on right there in that gym where anybody from the community can walk right in the doors and walk right through there. You know, how we can move them then into after-school care into a gymnasium, but now you lose the ability to use that gymnasium after school for things. Again, I think the Commons is a wonderful area, but that's where our dance team practices, you know, and so we don't want to take away our dance location, you know, for that too. So right now it's safe and secure entrances, but we're brainstorming. I mean, we're looking at even too, could it be housed off campus, where kids that want to be part of this program would ride a bus to this location. You know, maybe it's a church, maybe it's a business. We don't know that, but just a follow up on that. Questions for you folks, from you.
Just wondering, are you also planning to attend council meetings in Maynard and Raymond?
I would like to. I have gotten very limited invitations from them, but I do wish to, yes. And even beyond that too, I was talking to another superintendent just within the last 2 weeks or so about attending township meetings. And I don't know how many townships there are in Maynard, or not Maynard, but in McRae. But I know as my parents are involved in townships, that there's probably dozens. You know, and I know that sometimes township meetings, there's one person shows up, sometimes there's two. But you know, I would like to explore that too, because I think those are just as important. Mitchell, what township do you live in? Okay, I'll be there. Thank you, Debbie.
I'm not attending meetings, so.
You don't have to.
All right, thanks, Josh. Okay, next, 6.2, committee reports. We've got Leanne Carmen here and Terry Cohen, right? Yep. And you're gonna give us some information.
Yeah, so, hello, everybody. I guess I do the fourth straw. No. Actually, I'm representing the negotiations team. The other members had family commitments or no daycare. And I wanted everybody to be aware that we brought a proposal to the union last week to be voted on. And in that vote, we had 53 of 58 that voted for the contract. There was 15 yes at 28% and 38 no at 72%. So we just want to say that we'll be back at it after a holiday break.
Okay. So we'll have to just meet or get together and figure out what dates we want.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. 7.0 business items. 7.1 is to certify the 2023 payable 2024 property tax levy. I'll leave a motion on that.
We'll make the motion to approve that.
All right. Second. Going through. Ron, any discussion on that? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. 7.2, approve combined polling place, and this is a resolution. Get a motion?
This is the same as it's been every year. We just have to do this in case we would need a school vote.
Right.
So
You have to do it now.
yep, and we're good with all the, I contacted all the cities again and we're good to go, so.
Okay. So I'll need a motion in this one.
Everybody says it because nobody wants to read it.
Right, exactly.
I would say since we've read it the past 4 years, we could maybe not read it.
Yes, you can read the top.
I'd say read the top.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'll make that motion. My voice holds out. I need a second.
I'll second.
Is that you, Mark? All right. Resolution establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling places will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the date of a statewide election. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District 2180, State of Minnesota as follows. I'll read 1 and 2. Pursuant to Minnesota statutes, The precincts and polling places for school district elections are those precincts or parts of precincts located within the boundaries of the school district which have been established by the cities or towns located in whole or in part within the school district. The board hereby confirms those precincts and polling places so established by those municipalities. And pursuant to Minnesota statutes, the board may establish a combined polling place for several precincts for school district elections not held on the day of the state election. Each combined polling place must be a polling place that has been designated by a county or municipality. And the following combined polling places are established to serve as precincts specified for all school districts, special or general elections not held on the same day as the statewide election. And we've got the Rainier Community Center, the Rainier Community Center, and the Gray High School. Number 3, pursuant to Minnesota statutes, the polling places will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the same day as the statewide election between the hours of 2:00 p.m. and 8:00 p.m. There we go. Any other discussion or questions? If not, those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is a roll call, that's right. Okay, Scott,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Carmel,
Yes.
and myself, yes, so that's been. Let's see, 7.3, approve the 2022-2023 audited financial statements.
I'll make that motion.
Carmel, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Deb? Okay, any discussion or questions on that? If not, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, we've all got the note about the timesheets, getting that in for Kim. And we've got our upcoming meetings listed there. And, let's see, it is 7:06. Oh, I know. And I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It was you, Scott, second? John?
Sure.
Okay. Why not, John? All right, put you down. I got you down. It's you, all right, those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed, nay. Okay, you are adjourned. 7.